So we're going to be talking about Spanish art. So first is Spanish art history. So Spanish art history. So I'm going to be talking about these three periods. So the first period I'm going to be talking about is the classical period. So from the Greeks and Romans, we know that they have a lot of architecture. So in Spain, one example is the theater in Rome. Coming from this period is the Ionic, Doric, and Corinthian styles of columns of their temples, buildings, and theaters. Yeah, influenced by the Greeks. So we all know that during the Renaissance, the world was emerging. So as for Spain, it began in 1982, and it emerged from the Italian Renaissance, and new focus in art, literature, science, and other traditions were the major impulse of several events in the Renaissance of Spanish art. So seen here is modernism. Spanish artists moved away from traditions. So like they entered abstract and freer styles already. So in the upper right, we can see the art style of Impressionism, which focused on realism and how the light fell on the objects and subjects, and the other one is Surrealism. It focused on dreams and how it was magnificent. So yeah. So the cultural impact of Spanish art. It was an important contributor to Western art, otherwise known as the art of Europe. It had many famous artists that inspired other artists like Picasso. It had many important periods because a lot of the periods that Spain had, they were able to enhance or develop or introduce new styles of art. It was able to make a cultural impact in the region since they made Spain well known, since most of the famous artists come from them. They were of course also able to impact other artists in their region. And we should also know that Spanish culture was influenced by the Celtics. Rome and the Muslims from North Africa also had a great role in shaping Spain's cultural future. The influence of Spanish art. So yeah, they had many influential artists influenced through colonization. So they were the colonizers back then, since they had three goals: God, gold, and glory. So yeah, they were powerful. So through that, they were able to influence other cultures through art. For an example, when they colonized Philippines, they used art to propagate religion. Pablo Picasso was also able to influence other Spanish artists in the style of Cubism. So next is notable artworks of Spain. So first one is the Guernica. It is based off the bombing of Guernica, and it is Pablo Picasso's most famous work of art, and it has a powerful political statement, and it was an oil painting. It had symbolism, like the animal symbolized something. Yeah, and next is the flamenco dress. It is used in traditional festivals, and they were used by females to dance. Next is the mantilla. It is a veil that is embroidered, and they were used by female as well. And next is this polychrome structure, a wooden sculpture. It depicts the 16th century Saint John of the Cross, who was a poet and a mystic. So notable artists of Spain. So the first artist is Pablo Picasso. He is known for being the greatest artist of the 20th century. Yes, he had lots of famous works, and he was known as the inventor of Cubism. He devoted himself to art, which made him such an influential artist. Pablo Picasso also had major contributions to surrealism and symbolism. So next is Salvador Dali. He was a surrealist painter. So since surrealism explored the mind, he was very creative and he was known for his iconic mustache. So this painting there down his face is his most famous artwork called the Persistence of Memory. His artistic side didn't only include painting, but it included graphic arts, sculpture, design, photography, graphic arts, those other stuff. And lastly is El Greco. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. He is known to be a Greek painter, Greek Spanish. He was Greek Spanish. He was a painter, sculptor, and an architect of the Spanish Renaissance. So El Greco was his nickname. His painting mostly had religious themes, as you can see there below his face as well, that his painting was religious. And his art movement is called mannerism. So the goal of mannerism is that the artist wanted to make the art look elegant and made this shape stronger. So Spanish art introduced many famous and very influential artists like Picasso. Some of the world's most known or most famous artists come from Spain. Spanish art has its own diversity and unique features. It had its own style, so it left its audience speechless. They wanted to see more of their art. So art movements. Spain didn't only introduce new styles of art, but they also enhanced new styles of art like naturalism, surrealism, symbolism, Romanesque art, neoclassicism. Those were the styles they were able to enhance. So what makes Spanish art important is that Spain used art as a medium. As I said before, an example is the Philippines. They did use art as a medium to share or to propagate Catholic faith. They use beautiful images. They use their artwork to just spread and tell the Filipinos how beautiful Catholicism was. Another thing that makes Spanish art important is that many of the leading figures in art movements are Spanish artists. Yeah. They had many important periods. Like the prehistoric art of Spain had lots of important periods. In the Iron Age, parts of Spain were the center of Celtic art. And so that's it. I just love how Spain made art more alive. The artists were able to empower hearts of other artists, and that they were able to explore types and styles of art through architecture, literature, sculptures, clothing, and so much more. Thanks for listening, sir. I'm pretty. Bakugo is mine.